always been fascinated by how fiction reflects and adjusts reality, and how stories can mirror the complexities of our own world. In this video, I'll be breaking down how Andor redefines heroism, explores its themes of sacrifice, and shows why it's a game changer for modern Star Wars storytelling. Together, we'll be examining how it challenges us to rethink heroism, not just in fiction, but also in our own lives as well. Let's return back to that line we opened up with.
I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see.
As I said before, this isn't just a poetic statement from Luthen. This really summarizes his philosophy as a character, and some of the ideas that Andor ends up exploring throughout the season. In every revolution throughout history, there have been a lot of people like Luthen. Individuals who make impossible choices, knowing that they'll never see the fruits of their labor. From the fight against external threats to resistance against their own authoritarian regimes, the world's biggest changes are often driven by people who never lived to enjoy them. From its opening scenes, Andor challenges us. How far would you go to fight for freedom? How much can you put up with, and how much would you be willing to lose to save a future you'll never see? These aren't just rhetorical questions. They're central to understanding Andor's groundbreaking approach to storytelling and exploring its world of shadows and sacrifices. Let's set the stage with the second of the show's multiple arcs, the prison break on Narkina 5. It's one of the most gripping and layered sequences in the entire franchise, but to fully appreciate it, we need to break it down moment by moment. The prison itself is a masterclass in psychological oppression. The sterile, blinding white walls create an oppressive uniformity, while the omnipresent hum of machinery drowns out individuality. Every aspect of the prison is designed to dehumanize. Prisoners are referred to by their numbers, stripped of their identities, and confined to these brutal schedules where their survival hinges on their compliance. The electrified floors, which can deliver lethal shocks, are just one of the many aspects of the threat that looms around them. And yet, even in this bleak environment, rebellion is brewing. Kino Loy, portrayed brilliantly by Andy Serkis, embodies this transformation. Initially, he clings to the rules, believing that compliance will earn him his freedom. But when the grim reality sets in, that no one is leaving the prison alive, his worldview shatters. His rallying cry to the other prisoners, "One way out," isn't just a call to escape. It's a declaration of humanity reclaiming itself from the clutches of oppression. His transformation illustrates how even the most systemically broken individuals can reclaim their agency in these moments of collective defiance. The tension during the escape is palpable. Every step, every decision feels like a tightrope walk between life and death. Kino's speech to the prisoners is both inspiring and heartbreaking. He knows the stakes better than anyone there. And then, right at the very end, comes the gut-wrenching twist.
What did he say? Can't swim.
After leading hundreds to freedom, he's left behind, a tragic symbol of the personal cost of rebellion. But what happens to him after that? Andor doesn't tell us. It trusts us to grapple with the ambiguity, reminding us that rebellion isn't about clean victories. His inability to swim isn't just a tragic irony, it's a metaphor for the incomplete nature of liberation. Kino's role as a leader is pivotal, but his journey ends in sacrifice. The prisoners who escape owe their lives to him, yet his fate remains unknown. This is rebellion in its most raw form. It's a process fueled by hope, resilience, and sacrifice, but marked by loss and uncertainty. Leaving Kino at the edge of the platform hovering above the ocean, it asks the audience to sit with that reality, that these triumphs in the face of oppression are never without cost. Rebellion isn't born in a moment. It's a process, slow, painful, and often disjointed. This is one of Andor's most profound insights, reflected in both Cassian and Andor's journey, and also in the journey of the planet of Ferrix. But let's start with Cassian. When we first meet him, he's not a hero. He's a scavenger, a survivor hardened by loss and struggle. His actions are driven by necessity, not ideology. But as the series progresses, we witness his evolution. His transformation is gradual and isn't driven by a singular event or a moment of clarity. It's a cumulative process, shaped by relationships, failures, and a growing awareness of the stakes. One of these relationships is with Nemik, the young rebel. His manifesto isn't just a plot device, it's a cornerstone of the whole show. His words capture the essence of rebellion in a way that's both personal and universal. Freedom is a pure idea, he writes, but achieving it, that's the process, that's the messy work. Through Cassian's path, we see these ideas take root. not just as abstract concepts, but also as experiences that shape him into the leader we'll see in Rogue One. Nemik's idealism serves as a counterbalance to Cassian's pragmatism. It's through Nemik's posthumous words, "Remember this, try," that Cassian begins to understand rebellion not just as survival, but as purpose. His home planet of Ferrix as well reflects this slow transformation. The people there aren't revolutionaries. They're ordinary folks, workers, traders, families just trying to survive. But when the Empire pushes them too far, their collective resistance becomes a powerful force. The small community's eventual defiance is the culmination of years of quiet resistance and shared hardship. Moments like Marva's speech serve as a spark to ignite long-dormant embers of rebellion. From Marva's quiet defiance to the community's final stand during her funeral, Ferrix shows that rebellion starts with ordinary people taking extraordinary risks. The arc of Ferrix in particular highlights that rebellion isn't linear, and going back to what I said before, is an accumulation of small acts of personal sacrifices and pivotal moments of courage. For every Cassian or Nemik, there are countless others like the people of Ferrix who contribute to the cause in ways that often go unnoticed. This portrayal of rebellion as a process, slow, uneven, and deeply human, grounds Andor in a reality that feels both authentic and universal. But it's not just rebellion that's a process. To understand rebellion, we need to understand oppression. And Andor offers one of the most nuanced portrayals of the Empire we've ever seen. The Empire isn't just a collection of villains in uniforms missing every shot they take. It's a system, a sprawling bureaucracy designed to maintain control through fear, dehumanization, and a relentless efficiency. This portrayal moves beyond the simplistic caricatures often associated with Star Wars antagonists, presenting the Empire as an intricate, methodical machine that thrives on the complicity of its agents and the submission of its victims. The character of Dedra Meero exemplifies this. She's competent, ambitious, and believes wholeheartedly in the Empire's mission. Her rise within the ISB, the Imperial Security Bureau, is chilling because it's so plausible. Her methodical approach to quashing rebellion is rooted in her ability to think outside the box, making her both dangerous and also deeply human. Her character forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that oppression isn't perpetrated solely by monsters, but often by individuals who believe they're doing the right thing. Speaking of those individuals, we can go on to Cyril Karn now. Cyril offers another perspective of this same system. His obsessive pursuit of Cassian is driven by a rigid sense of justice and an unwavering belief in the sanctity of law and order. From the outset, he's portrayed as someone deeply committed to what he perceives as justice. His meticulous nature, down to the precision of his uniform, which he's modified, reflects his desire to bring order to a chaotic galaxy. However, his idealism is shaped by the rigid structures of the Empire, leading him to conflate justice with authoritarian control. It's often in the show that his belief in justice clashes with reality. His pursuit of Cassian begins with a desire to hold someone accountable for the death of 2 officers, but it quickly spirals into something more dangerous, as his rigid ideals encounter the Empire's pragmatic cruelty. Cyril imagines himself as a hero serving a noble cause, but the Empire sees him as a disposable tool, a minor functionary serving their larger agenda. His ideals, at once a source of purpose, are twisted into obsession. He begins as a man striving to do what he believes is right, only to find himself adrift in a system that has no room for his moral convictions. Cyril's story isn't just a cautionary tale about blind loyalty. It's illustrating how ideals like justice can be manipulated by oppressive regimes. His story asks us difficult questions. What happens when your moral compass is aligned with a corrupt system? How do individuals navigate the tension between personal principles and institutional realities? In Cyril's case, his pursuit of justice ultimately blinds him to the harm his actions cause, turning him into a tragic figure. A man whose good intentions are weaponized by an empire that sees justice only as a means of control. With Andor presenting the Empire as a complex system rather than a monolithic evil, it's showing us uncomfortable truths about our own world. Oppression doesn't always come with a face. It's embedded in systems, institutions, and bureaucracies. It thrives on apathy, complicity, and the belief that resistance is futile. Showing this deepens the moral complexity of the Star Wars universe while also holding up a mirror to our own reality.
I share my dreams with ghosts.
Luthen Rael delivers this with quiet gravitas, and it's one of the most haunting lines in Andor. It's also more than a reflection of his solitude. Luthen's ghosts are not just the literal dead, they're the remnants of his former self, of the dreams he abandoned and the lives sacrificed under his leadership. His existence is defined by the sacrifice, not just of others, but also of himself. His life is one defined by duality. To the galaxy at large, He's an antiquities dealer, a charming and eloquent purveyor of rare and beautiful artifacts. This public persona gives him access to the galaxy's elite, including senators and power brokers, but it also serves as a mask. Beneath the surface, Luthen is the shadowy mastermind of the rebellion, orchestrating its efforts from the darkest corners of the galaxy. This dual identity allows him to maneuver within the Empire's grip while remaining hidden, but it comes at a cost. Luthen no longer has room for personal connection or authenticity. Everything he is must serve the rebellion. When Luthen first confesses his sacrifices to Lonnie, an ISB mole, risking everything to feed him information, it's a shocking moment of raw vulnerability. Luthen's sacrifices are a vast and all-encompassing shadow. His line,
"I made my mind a sunless space,"
reflects the moral compromises he's made to keep the rebellion alive. He's given up any semblance of a normal life, severing ties with the man he once was to become the architect of a rebellion he may not live to see succeed. His dual identity is both his greatest strength and his greatest curse. The antiquity dealer can charm and disarm, but the rebel leader must remain unseen. One of the most explicit examples of Luthen's pragmatism is his willingness to sacrifice Anto Krieger's cell. He knows that allowing the Empire to crush Krieger will protect Lonnie's cover and, by extension, the rebellion's long-term operations. This is Luthen's understanding of the long game. He views the rebellion as a strategic machine where individual pieces, however valuable, must sometimes be discarded to ensure victory. It's cold calculus, but Luthen makes it without hesitation, fully aware of the blood it places on his hands. Yet, Luthen is not heartless. His speech to Lonnie is not just a revelation of his own struggles, but also a plea for understanding. By sharing his sacrifices, he acknowledges the shared burden of rebellion, a burden that often goes unnoticed. His dual identities forces him into isolation, but also grants him clarity. He doesn't wrestle with his choices the way Mon Mothma does, for example. He's already made peace with the darkness he has to live in. His vulnerability with Lonnie in this moment is striking because it contrasts with his usual stoic demeanor, showing that even the most resolute leaders carry the weight of their decisions. Luthen embodies the profound loneliness and moral ambiguity of leadership. His dual existence, balancing charm with ruthless efficiency, reflects the sacrifices necessary to challenge an oppressive regime while remaining unseen. His story forces us to grapple with uncomfortable truths about the cost of change and the ethical compromises often required to achieve it. Luthen may never see the sunrise his efforts create, but his character ensures that the light of freedom will one day break through the darkness.
I show you the stone in my hand. You miss the knife at your throat.
In stark contrast to Luthen, we have Mon Mothma's journey in Andor. Where Luthen sacrifices his personal identity, Mon risks her public reputation, her wealth, and even her family for the rebellion. Her dual life is fraught with tension. To the galaxy, she is a loyal senator, championing causes that seem noble, but ultimately are non-threatening to the Empire. Behind the scenes, however, she secretly funds and organizes the rebellion, a risky endeavor that demands constant vigilance and careful calculation. Differentiating her further from Luthen, Mon must maintain an air of propriety, walking the razor-thin line between resistance and treason. This duality becomes most apparent in her personal life. Her marriage to Perrin is a source of constant friction. He's complacent and indulgent, content to thrive within the Empire's status quo. Their daughter Leda is equally resistant to Mon's ideals, embracing the traditional values her mother quietly despises. These family dynamics highlight the isolating nature of Mon's role. Mon hides in plain sight, surrounded by people she cannot fully trust. It's not just emotional sacrifice, but also further deeply personal ones. The financial strain of funding the rebellion forces her to seek help from questionable sources, such as the unscrupulous Davos Skolden. This choice represents a moral compromise for Mon, who values her integrity above all else. Agreeing to Davos' terms, a betrothal between their two children, shows the extent of her desperation. It's a moment that underscores her vulnerability. Luthen embraces the moral ambiguity of rebellion, but Mon constantly wrestles with the ethical implications of her actions. While Luthen speaks in terms of sacrifices already made, Mon is agonizing over the sacrifices she knows are yet to come. Mon understands that visibility is both her greatest weapon and her greatest liability. She must inspire hope among allies while avoiding suspicion from her enemies, all while carrying the burden of a rebellion survival. Her sacrifices are not made in the heat of battle like is often seen in the show, but instead in whispered conversations and tense negotiations. It's marked by isolation, compromise, and the constant fear of being exposed. In the end, Mon Mothma's role in the rebellion highlights a different kind of heroism, one that requires patience, resilience, and an unwavering commitment. Luthen burns his life in the shadows, Mon chips away at the Empire from within. There's extraordinary courage required from her. And now we move on to somebody else who exemplifies another aspect of rebellion.
Cassian will find us.
I'll find you.
Cassian's journey in Andor is perhaps the most transformative in the series, with him evolving from a jaded survivor into a committed revolutionary. Unlike figures such as Mon Mothma or Luthen Rael, he doesn't really begin with an ideological commitment to the rebellion. Instead, his arc is a gradual awakening. It's shaped by personal loss and these unexpected alliances and the crushing weight of oppression around him. He's not a hero from the start. He's a flawed, self-serving man who is forced to confront his own role in the larger fight for freedom. Yet from the beginning, the show plants seeds of his eventual transformation. The murder of 2 security officers in the opening episode, while an act of necessity, does set the tone for the moral complexities that define his journey. Cassian's growth is catalyzed by the people he meets along the way. The camaraderie he builds with characters like Kino Loy and all the other prisoners during the escape reinforces an understanding that survival alone is not enough if it means leaving others behind. By the end of the season, Cassian's evolution is nearly complete. His decision to join Luthen Rael and fully commit to the rebellion is not made lightly. It's the result of a hard-fought internal battle. Cassian's transformation underscores one of the series' central themes. Rebellion is not an innate quality but a choice, one often born out of necessity and shaped by personal sacrifice. He doesn't have a sudden heroic epiphany. His transformation is gradual, messy, and deeply human. Each step in his journey is earned, making his eventual role in Rogue One all the more poignant. He's not a mythic figure, but instead a reflection on the ordinary individuals who find themselves called to extraordinary acts in the face of oppression. It's a reminder that heroism comes in many forms, and that the fight for freedom is often led by those who have the most to lose. For men like them, there's hope in the despair.
It's easy for the dead to tell you to fight. And maybe it's true, maybe fighting's useless. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting these bastards.
One of the most profound achievements in Andor is its ability to balance the hope and despair, creating a narrative where victories are hard won and sacrifices are deeply felt. While Cassian's arc explores his personal transformation, the broader themes of the series delve into how entire communities and movements grapple with this duality. This tension isn't just in the background, it's the emotional heartbeat, giving its moments of triumph and tragedy an unparalleled weight. We've talked about Nemik's manifesto a little bit, but it really does capture the duality of this beautifully. His belief in the cause is unwavering, and his words acknowledge the cost.
Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks. It leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that.
This reminder that even the most oppressive systems are vulnerable becomes a guiding principle, not just for Cassian, but for everyone fighting the Empire. As I mentioned earlier, Nemik's death during the heist in Aldhani is a devastating moment that underscores the cost of rebellion, but it also amplifies the power of his ideas. His passing transforms Manifesto into a lasting symbol of hope, one that survives him and becomes central to Cassian's evolving understanding of rebellion. His ideals outlive him, reminding us that rebellion often relies on the persistence of ideas passed between generations. His final words and ultimate sacrifice resonate not just with Cassian, but with the rebellion as a whole, providing a foundation for the hope that sustains it. We haven't talked about her much yet, but Marva, Cassian's adoptive mother, has one of the most critical moments for illustrating the themes of the show. She's not a figure who wields power in the traditional sense, yet her courage and steadfast resolve make her one of the most pivotal characters in the series. Through her arc, Andor demonstrates how rebellion is born not just from anger, but from love, hope, and an unrelenting commitment to doing what is right, even in the face of overwhelming despair. While she's alive, Marva's resistance is subtle but unwavering. From her refusal to leave her home, to her insistence on maintaining dignity in a world consumed by fear, she embodies the idea. Her loss of Clem, who was unjustly executed by stormtroopers, could have broken her, yet she still channels that grief into her quiet defiance. These everyday acts of resistance may not seem revolutionary on their own, but they build the resolve necessary to inspire others. Her death becomes a galvanizing force for Ferrix, and her funeral speech serves as the emotional and thematic crescendo of the whole series. It's delivered posthumously via hologram, but her words cut through the weight of oppression like a knife. She doesn't present herself as fearless at all. She admits her hesitation and regrets in this, making her call to action all the more relatable and powerful. She acknowledges the fear that paralyzes everyone, and in doing so, she gives her community permission to rise above it. She doesn't paint rebellion as easy or without cost, but as essential and a choice that must be made despite the sacrifices it demands. The riot that follows Marva's speech is one of the most cathartic moments in the series. Her words light a fire in the people of Ferrix. They seemed broken by the oppression, but suddenly now come alive. united in the resistance. But as is always the case in Andor, hope comes with a cost. The Empire's retaliation is brutal, and the riot does not end with a clean victory. Yet this moment plants the seeds of rebellion that will spread far beyond Ferrix. These two together, Nemik and Marva, represent the thematic core of Andor. Both characters embody that truth. The rebellion is never clean, and it's not without loss. With its focus on these sacrifices, Andor gives weight to the rebellion in a way that enriches the entire Star Wars saga instead of subtracting from it. It transcends its surroundings. It's not just some modern Star Wars show. It's a story about the human condition. Characters, their struggles, and their victories remind us that even in the darkest moments, there is hope to be found, and a fire to be lit. Andor has already redefined what Star Wars can be without sacrificing the past. And as we get to the second season, hopefully it'll continue to push these themes even further. If you're drawn to stories that challenge and inspire, subscribe and be part of the conversation. Next video essay I'm putting out is a deep dive into the world of Ingmar Bergman, a filmmaker whose works explore the deepest questions of existence. Whether you're a cinephile or simply curious, his legacy will change how you see storytelling and life itself. Thanks for watching, and stay copacetic.